Hello, my dear ones. Another video now for explaining and maybe even spoiling a little bit the actual feast of Pentecost, who is now to come in some days in 2023. So please listen first to my former videos on Christian feasts and also on Jewish ones so you can understand this one here better. Because God feasts are linked together. It's a system. By the way, God says in the Torah that those three big feasts are his feasts. And Pentecost, in Jewish, Hebrew, Shavuot, is one of the big three, one of the big top three feasts of God. And you have to take care because God does not say in the Torah that these are Israelite feasts or Hebrew feasts or Jewish feasts. No. He says they're his feasts, God's feast, totally independent from any people, from any religion. God's feasts, the Almighty God's feasts. So it's not the feast of the Jews, it's not the feast of the Christian, not of the Muslims, nothing. It's his feasts, top God's Almighty feasts. So what does this mean? Those feasts don't belong to any people. No, they belong to God. They were only communicated to the Israelites, probably because no other people were interested in them. The Israelites, and they descend from Abraham, who was considered God's friend, the Israelites should hold his system, God's system, and his feasts to show the heathens, the pagans, the other people, the Goyim, how wonderful all this works out. So that the other people also wanted to hold God's feasts and his system of laws also. This was the meaning, that the Israelites should be the pilot, the pilot program, the pilot project. So all the other religions do not serve the right, only true God, and also not the Israelites and the Jews. They don't serve the right true God if they do not hold these exact feasts of the highest God and the true God's feast that God himself explained to Moses on the mountain of Sinai. So what are God feasts? I already explained that in the other videos. Those are the feasts the angels in heaven celebrate also. Those are God's feasts, his feasts of the Father and the Son and the Spirit, and heavenly feasts, basically. Those feasts of his, the three big ones, are, like I already explained, power stations. And they do not care, they are not dependent from any religion, from our traditions, from your traditions, or your invented feasts of any religion. So if you don't hold God's feasts, his own feasts, heavenly feasts, you're doomed. You will have no power, not in life and not in eternity, because you have no alignment with heaven. This is the sense. No blessing, therefore. Do you understand? I tell this not only to the Jews and their rabbis, because they also have many things not right too. I also tell this to the churches and pastors mainly, to gurus and imams, to all so-called Christians and Muslims and Buddhists and Hindus and Voodoos and whatever believers in the world. If you do not hold and care for the highest God's feasts, the feasts of the only true Almighty God who created all of this here on earth and in the heavens, you can stop anyway doing something else. He does not care for any other stuff than his own feasts. You can stop holding and feasting anything else. It's worthless. This is what his feasts mean. So now let's come to Pentecost, which is now at our doors. Many people and also many Christians do not know at all what this feast is all about. If you ask people on the street in the Western countries, they know what Christmas should be, at least a little bit. A feast, by the way, that is not of God. See my Christmas videos. Watch them, hear them. Easter, those people know much less. They often don't even know what happened there and why it's celebrated at all, especially in the Christian countries. The Jews know more about Pesach. And if you ask what happened on Pentecost and why we celebrate this feast, it's totally over. They know nothing about Pentecost. Even many Christians that regularly go to church don't really know what happened there and why it happened there. No wonder. Because Christian churches and pastors and priests and the elders and all those people who think they're able to lead some congregation or so, do it often wrongly and on the wrong days and explain it wrongly. They don't even understand the deep meaning of this feast. And also the Jews do not really understand it. And they most often celebrate it on the wrong days. Simply, they're counting wrong, simply because they do not have right the Feast of First Fruits during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. See my videos about Easter and unleavened breads to understand what I mean by this. Pentecost, in German we call it Pfingsten, goes back on the Latin word penta, means 5, because this feast along the Torah, along the third book of Moshe, chapter 23, has to be celebrated 50 days after Pesach, more specific, after first fruit, as after the swing offering there on first fruit. The first fruit feast is always on the Sunday or on the Jewish first day of the week, after the first weekly Shabbat, during the Feast of Unleavened Bread. From there, from this Sunday on, they have to count to the 50th day. But because the Jews count from the day after 15th of Nisan, on which is the Shabbat and Haggadah, the big Shabbat, they almost never celebrate Shavuot on the right day. They do it too early most often. On the 50th day after first fruit, there shall be the next swing offering for God. And during this offering, there should be no work on this day, and a holy congregation should be held to read and celebrate the Torah. You can find all of this in the third book of Moses, chapter 23. On top, it's only one day feast, one holiday feast, and it's not supposed to work there. It's not a 2-day holiday feast, like the Christians and Jews do it mostly. The Hebrew name for Pentecost, although it's never really lapping over, the Hebrew name is Shavuot. And this word means weeks, because God says they should count 7 full weeks after the first fruit feast, and then the day after, the 50th day, is Shavuot. So if done rightly, Shavuot or Pentecost should always be on a Monday, or in Hebrew counting, it's the 2nd day of the week. Normally, the Christian churches count also wrongly because they have chosen a wrong day for Easter, which should be lapped over with Pesach exactly, but they don't do this. So, Pesach and unleavened bread. So most often they land on the wrong days for Pentecost as well. No wonder. If you start wrongly to count and not count in God's way, you land on the wrong days and you will never have alignment with God in heaven. Only this year in 2023, in May, because of the monthly counting calendar of the Jews, therefore they follow the month, it's changing from year to year. The Jews have it wrong. They celebrate Shavuot on the 26th of May and 27th. And the Christian churches have the day right, at least the Monday of it, the 29th of May. See how crooked all this is? Nobody has it right, especially not in every year. Why cannot even one religion celebrate the right feasts after God's counting at the right days? It makes me crazy. So in the next video, part 2 of Pentecost, I will explain what's really all about Shavuot in the Old Testament and Pentecost in the New Pfingsten in the New Testament. So until then, until part 2, I would be honored, by the way, if you like my videos and if you would subscribe and maybe give a nice comment if you learn something. So I know that there are at least some few people out there who are really interested in God's opinion and his will and his feasts. And if I'm wrong with something, I'm pretty sure I'm not because I said it a lot, but if I'm really wrong after your own thorough research, please tell me in the comments. So I'm very open if you're really an expert, and if I have counted somewhere wrongly, you have to tell me, please. I want to do it really like God wants it. And also I have to admit, it would strengthen my motivation to make more videos if you show me your love and interest by subscribing, liking, and commenting. Lovely. So my dear ones, stay clear, pure, true forever until part 2 of my Pentecost Shavuot content. Bye.